Hello there YouTube, Raj here. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video I've got a comparison between two fragrances from Hermes. Both I think are really excellent, definitely worth checking out. The first one that was the Equipage, the original was released in 1970. Guy Robert was the perfumer. This was actually the first men's targeted fragrance created by Hermes, and it took a long time until a flanker got released in 2015, created by Jean-Claude Ellena. This is Equipage Geranium. Hermes, they don't really do too many flankers. Obviously their main flagship kind of fragrance, Terre d'Hermes, has a few, but they're not really a house known for producing loads and loads of fragrances in one line, on the whole, with a few exceptions. And I've got to say, with Hermes, you do pay a little bit more than you would compared to other designer fragrances. 100 ml for about £100. You can find discounts, so do look around. But what you are guaranteed in, I think, is really good quality, very natural smelling fragrances. Hermes don't really, from what I can tell, from what I've tried, they don't really follow the crowd. They trust in their own process. They invest in good quality materials with top quality perfumers, and yeah, the results show. I think the Equipage Geranium one may have been one of Jean-Claude Ellena's last fragrances for the house before he moved on. But yeah, as I said, I've reviewed this fragrance. I will leave the link down below. Check it out. Let's get into the comparison. Let's start things off with the original Equipage. Hermes don't really give too much away in terms of notes on their website. They simply say marjoram, tarragon, and sandalwood. I think in this one there is some grassy elements, some minty elements, certainly a bit of spicy elements to the fragrance. Whereas Equipage Geranium obviously includes the notes of geranium, so you've got a more floral lead fragrance. They give notes of clove, geranium, and sandalwood. So before I get into the details and the similarities, what I would say from the very start is that if you're into very natural smelling fragrances, if you like being out there in nature, maybe you're a city boy like me who doesn't really get too much in the way of natural beauty, these are a really nice gateway into very sort of realistic smelling fragrances, but also they're not just there to imitate the scent of nature. They come together really nicely to create a very nice, beautiful composition. And I really enjoy these two. Could you own both of these? Well, I'll get into that into a little bit more detail in a second. Let's start off with Equipage, the original. I'll just kind of briefly touch on this because I have reviewed it. Main things that come to my mind: grassiness, a spicy green quality. I get minty qualities coming through here. It's a little bit dry as well, but also has a bit of freshness in there as well. It's an aromatic type of scent. It's a very classic type of scent without smelling dated. I mean, this fragrance is still in production. I haven't smelled vintage versions, but this current version to me smells really, really spot on. Would suit a nicely put together outfit in a formal setting. But you know what, you can wear this one at pretty much most occasions, and it feels like a very much an all-weather type fragrance. It performs very nicely when the weather is nice and warm, and I think it's such a beautiful fragrance. I really like the bottle design here. You've got the man on the horse here with a kind of, I guess it would be like a watercolor style painting, which adds a nice classy touch to this fragrance. So Equipage Geranium gives you a different element in the opening, and I would say the mid as well. At the end, these fragrances basically do converge and run parallel to each other, or Geranium, I should say, runs parallel to the original. But what you get here in the introduction is a very, very beautiful and very lifelike, spicy, rosy geranium, which is quite floral, and it is a really nice welcome addition to this DNA. It creates something a little bit different. It does smell different in the opening few hours to Equipage, so it's not just Equipage but stronger or just slightly tweaked. There are some quite noticeable differences. It is very much like stepping into like a greenhouse or like a flower, a garden center, something like that. And if you're somebody who likes to tend to your garden, or as I said, be in nature, the geranium one is really worth checking out. It has this, I don't know if this is the best way of describing it, but if you imagine a waxy leaf, like a plant has a leaf growing on it, which has it feels like it has a coating. And if you get quite close up to a flower, it can have quite sometimes a strong, intense smell. And that's what you get with the geranium version. Again, has spicy elements, it has a dry quality to it as well. And overall, it adds a bit more, it's more sort of high-pitched. You know, Equipage Geranium sits around here, whereas the original Equipage is a much more, slightly more woodier, green, spicy kind of fragrance, whereas the geranium version is spicy, floral, and it feels a little bit more fresher to me. It feels slightly more freshened up, although to be honest, both are very, very fresh fragrances. You know what? Performance is really good as well. They do last a good amount of time without being beast mode. They're not loud fragrances, but you will be noticed. And I've noticed that the geranium version performs very, very well in the heat, more so than Equipage. I mean, they both perform well in the heat, but geranium just comes to life a lot more. I enjoyed it when I first tried it, and now that I've been testing it a lot more, as you can see, I'm done with my 10 ml sample. I enjoyed it a lot more, and it made me think, once I'm done with this bottle, I've put a decent dent into it, and I haven't worn it too much, you know, I've worn it a good amount. I would probably, once this one is done, switch to the geranium version. As I said, as they come towards the base, you get spiciness, but tame. You get greenness, and it's kind of there. It's kind of earthy as well. And they both kind of do the same thing as you get to the dry down. I mean, they're not massively different in the dry down. And so, while I do think they are different fragrances, for most of the time, I kind of felt to myself like I don't feel the need to own both. But I think if you're an Hermes enthusiast, I think you definitely could own both. You know, both are excellent. So, top quality from Hermes, to be expected, to be fair. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on these fragrances, guys. Which one do you prefer? Which one is your favorite from Hermes? How does this compare to other fragrances in the men's line or any of the other lines? You know, the Jardin line is even more well known for giving you that stepping into nature feel. I have to say, I'm really pleased with both of these fragrances, and they're well worth checking out. Guys, thank you so much for watching this content. If you do like what I do, you know, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee page. The links are down below. I have lots of other videos. There's a bunch of playlists that I've set up. I've recently started doing videos again, so there's a few videos that I've put out recently. And thank you to all the people who have been watching the videos recently and also subscribing. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye.